Mind the gap.
So, welcome aboard, commuters, and in this issue we'll be building part 5 of the Routemaster, which is the suspension arm assembly. Now, while I check the parts, I'm just going to sort of explain the situation with the subscriptions. I did have a word with Hachette, and basically what's happened is that my last delivery, which was 3 parts, has come, leaving me one issue behind the newsagents, and then 2 days later another issue has come out, which obviously leaves me two issues behind. So I've pretty much had it confirmed to me that I'm always going to be between 1 issue and 5 issues behind. So what I've done is I've had a word with my local newsagents. They've got in part 7, and at the time of recording part 8 has been released and I now own that. So I've actually received 5 copies in 1 week, and obviously I've cancelled my subscription. So obviously you're wondering why this has been released on a Friday. That's because the magazine being released on a Wednesday, Friday would be a much better day for me to get the YouTube video out. Now that obviously clashes with my Marvel figurines and my Assassin's Creed magazines, so they're unfortunately going to be moved back to Tuesday, which is my old Routemaster day. And then what I'll do is the Routemaster will come out on a Friday. Now what I'll also do is, obviously this one's coming out today, next week I'll give a double episode, so that will be part 6 and part 7. And then the following week will be just part 8, and then the week after that I'll give a double episode, and that should bring me up to date. And then from there on in there'll be 1 episode every Friday, which will be released 2 days after the release of the magazine. That's just to give me time to build it. Theoretically I should be able to make the video on the Wednesday after work. And then obviously I need to collect that raw footage and just edit it down to a watchable format. Now obviously each part will take a varying amount of time to build depending on the complexity. For example, this particular video is 18-19 minutes of raw footage. Obviously I've not finished editing, this is the beginning, but obviously parts need to be cut out, and parts obviously need to be speeded up. So I'm just about coming to the end of checking the parts, and what we'll do is we'll start on the first piece, and that's labelled 5A, and we also need to get some screws labelled EM, and there'll be 2 trailing link brackets labelled 5B, and we just need to insert those with a couple of the EM screws. Now these do have lugs, so you'll notice on the trailing link brackets there's 2 holes, and just above it, in between the 2, there's a little like a little recess, and the lug just lines up in there, and then you just tighten the screws. As I explain every video, once it becomes difficult to turn with reasonable force, that's the point I would stop at. Okay, once that's complete, we need to get hold of the 2 trailing link axles labelled 5G, and they will be inserted into the holes from the trailing link brackets. And then we need to get 2 more trailing link brackets, again labelled 5B. You need to pop those onto the other side, just making sure that you've got those trailing link axles in place. They should fit in quite nicely. If there is a problem, it's usually down to a little bit of paint overspill. There might just be a thick bit of paint. You can always file or just scrape that away. Okay, for the next part we need the left-handed lower trailing links, which is labelled 5E. Now be very careful. If you just take a little bit of time here and get it right, it will save a lot of effort later on. There are two different parts that look almost identical. One is labelled 5D and one is labelled 5E. Now the difference between the two is quite simply that there's two holes on the side, and they're going to be for future screw holes. So just check on page 1 where you've got a diagram of all of the parts. Just make sure you've got the correct piece, and then that will be inserted on piece EM. Now what I actually did on this is I inserted both of the 5E parts. That was technically incorrect. What you need to do is work on one side and finish the one side, and then go on and repeat the other side. It doesn't matter, you know, it's screwed in, it was nice and tight, and I stopped after I did the 5E. But obviously what I did was I just slightly rushed through the instructions. I could potentially have come a cropper, but in this case I didn't. Okay, and on to section 5, where we need to just get ready. Obviously we've put in the part 5E, which is the lower trailing link. We need to just prepare part 5C, the turn axle link, and 5F, the trailing link spacer. We just pop those in as per the diagram. Now do take an extra second just to have a look at 5C turn axle link. Just make sure it goes in the correct way. The longer piece should go downwards, and then we'll move. And then what we'll do is we'll just pop on the 5D, which is the second right. Oh, sorry, is the right-handed lower trailing link, and then we'll just screw those in. Now, then once we've done that, we'll move on to part 6 and part 7, which is exactly the same as before, except obviously it's on the opposite side. So we're coming to the end of the build now. You'll see me, if you haven't already, just see me check the pieces. Now obviously the end pieces will move around. In a future issue we will attach these down so that they're fixed. Now as for the build, I really did enjoy this. I have said in previous issues about how much work there is. Now I found this completely different from, say for example, the stairs, which was popping panels onto plastic pieces and inserting the screws. Now I found the stairs quite satisfying. I found this very satisfying in a completely different way. Definitely worth the money for this individual issue. Obviously I'm buying this for the completed project, so I'm not actually looking at it and going, oh, that's £9 and this is what I got for it. Although I will actually rate each issue for the exact, you know, so I'll say, oh, this is a good piece, this is a lot of work for the £9. Obviously, if I received one part work and paid £9 for it, and I had it completed in 2 minutes, I would be disappointed. But I've got to say, overall, I don't feel I'm going to be disappointed. I mean, we're now into part 5, and we're getting a rough idea. I mean, remember, this is all part of the suspension, so this is giving us another indication of the width of the whole bus, and I really do feel it's a really good project. So I'm going to sign off now, and I will be releasing another video on Friday. In fact, I'll be releasing, did I say I was going to release 2 videos? So that will be part 6 and part 7, and then it will be 1 issue the following week, and then 2 issues the week after. So have a wonderful week, guys, and I really hope you enjoy your build.